Namaste. I'm again back here to share some thoughts with all of you. Idea of recording this video came in when my wife today morning asked me, what do you wish for year 2021? And as I started speaking to her, some themes emerged out of what my thoughts were. And I wanted to speak about those themes with all of you so that probably it's a good set of things that all of us can think about, which I think is very important for our future 1 decade. The first theme which I thought about was on coexistence. We all need to realize the importance of coexistence. When I say coexistence, it is not just about coexistence of humans in terms of various cultures, castes, and creed. I'm not talking about that. Of course, that's a must. But I'm talking about coexistence of all the various creatures, flora and fauna, which exist on this planet. So I'm looking at coexistence for this whole planet at large. And that is what is the fundamental concept of Vasudhaiva Kudumbaka. One of the very key principles which was very closely followed by all the different societies in this country, Bharatvarsha. So it is about realizing that this earth is not a creation for humans to consume all the things which is there on earth. We are just one among billions of species who are surviving in this planet out of many years of evolution. So our place in this planet is just the same as the place even a single cell organism has versus the big blue whale which is swimming in our oceans. And we need to realize that currently somehow we humans have lost that realization and have moved into a role of domination. In Advaitic concept, what it says is the essence of supreme is existing in every creature which is living on this planet. Which could be trees, plants, herbs, single-celled organisms, big blue whales, the biggest terrestrial mammal, the elephant, whichever be the creature. The essence of supreme is existing. And which means we need to respect each and every creature which is living on this planet. And we need to really ponder where we are doing that. So coexistence of all the flora and fauna to the fullest, they can thrive to the fullest on this planet, is a very important point which all of us have to imbibe, digest, and think when we live every day. The next theme which I was talking about, or thinking about, or talking to my wife about was virtual versus real. Today, with the advent of technology, a large amount of time, all of us, which is our generation, and more so for the next generation, the time is being spent in a virtual world. Virtual world of social media. We have the Facebooks, the Googles, the Instagrams, the Twitters of the world, where a large amount of time is being spent. But what is that leading to? that is leading to lot more lesser social connect which people have, which is very important, because we as a species, Homo sapiens, are social creatures. When the social interactions goes down, that includes the interaction between the parents and the children. And that interaction between parents and the children is such an important fabric of a healthy society. It is when that interactions happen, the parents are able to pass on values, wisdom to the next generation. And they have got it through their experiences in life and also from their older generations. And that is such a very key element of a healthy society. And today, to a large extent, I see that's missing. I've seen several families who are sitting in a restaurant, and we are going to a restaurant not just have food, but also to enjoy the ambience, to socialize, talk to each other. But what I see is husband is sitting with a mobile, wife is sitting with another mobile, and the child is sitting with his gadget. It could be iPad or whatever. Then I wonder why they have come to a hotel, right? So the point is, are we missing one very clear aspect of we living on this planet, which is to make those social connects, interact, and seek wisdom from others, which I think is missing. And because of the same reason, the youngsters are getting far more lesser time for intellectual pursuits. In terms of understanding what talents they have, learning music, learning dance, probably learning drawing, or spending time on literary activities. A lot of these things or sporting activities, a lot of things starts diminishing because of the huge amount of time which the social media is taking away from them. And that also reduces the amount of time that they have for self-introspection. Very, very often in our life, we will have to pull ourselves out of the box and start looking at what we are doing and kind of introspect and see, is this what life means for you? So the other issue which I've seen, and these are things which I'm quoting out of papers from Harvard and so on, where there have been many instances where psychiatrists and neurologists have found, when they have surveyed children, where they kind of give undue importance to the likes and vows that they get in Facebook or in Instagram or wherever, and kind of equate their self-worth to the number of likes or the vows that they get in social media. Being ignorant or being not aware of the fact that that is just Maya and they are far away from the plane of reality. So I feel we as parents have a big role to play in, first of all, we reducing our time on social media, and then trying to kind of see how we can pull the youngsters out of social media, where they spend a lot of time on social interactions and also on various intellectual pursuits. And when that happens, then the social media will have to metamorphosize. Because currently social media is a conduit to lure the young generation into brand-based economy, with an ulterior motive of manipulating their psyche so that the youngsters get completely sucked into the consumption-based economy and starts kind of equating their self-worth to the brands they use or the friends friendship or the friend network they have, or the wows and likes they have got. So I feel that this is definitely going to lead to a lot of social issues, and already there are a lot of statistics which shows the big huge impact of this particular aspect. And the impact is in terms of multifold increase in depression cases in the age 10 to 18, multifold increase in suicides and suicidal tendencies, and all these are attributed to the advent of social platform. Because when you see the statistics, you can see that all these changes have happened when the social platform came in. So I think it is really a time, 2021 is a time where all of us have to introspect and see how we can reduce the presence of social media and these gadgets in our lives. The third theme which I spoke about was on regeneration. What does that mean? For several decades, man has been plundering this planet. We have been plundering the natural resources of this planet in terms of using it for fuel, maybe making plastics, and all sorts of things for our material comfort. And through that, we have this false feeling that we are dominating everything on this planet and we are completely on control. But as you see, that is not the case. You can see the overall global temperatures are going up. I think last 2 decades it's almost gone up by 1.5 to 2 degrees Celsius, which is a huge change, which usually our planet took millions of years, if at all some changes had to happen like that because of huge volcanic eruptions and so on. And we have managed to do that in just 2 decades. So credit goes to us. Probably, I don't know whether I should use credit, maybe not a right word. Now, how can we get out of this? And that can only happen through regeneration. And there are several things which can be done, but I think one thing which is a huge, massive impact going to be, positive impact going to be, is if we move out of one crop based cultivation and start also relooking at our diet patterns. One crop based cultivation is really harming our soil, because the nature is not meant for one crop based cultivation. If you look at 1 square kilometer of forest, you can see there will be hundreds of varieties of flora and fauna thriving there, billions of microbes, right, in the soil. And it's actually a big, it's actually an ecosystem by itself, where there is a huge delicate balance between all these living organisms working together to coexist, and see that the coexistence can go on for a long period of time. When we started doing one crop based cultivation, what happened is that we have started using fertilizers and pesticides in large amounts, which has completely destroyed the life in soil. The billions of microbes which were so important for the soil to be alive were all killed. And now what is happening is, because of this one crop based cultivation, the fertility of the soil is drastically come down. The groundwater levels have nosedived, and this is leading to the fields being barren and slowly leading to desertification, because no plants are able to grow there, because the soil is no more fertile, and soil has died. So we need to look at how we can revive, and definitely it's not that it's all gloom. There are several proven methodologies for reviving the soil and regeneration. And that is where we need to move out of one crop based cultivation. There is a beautiful book called One Straw Revolution, which I've read, which is written by Fukuoka, which in fact is followed in Japan and has become very successful, where the farming is diversified. It is not just one crop. There are multiple crops. They are having animals grazing the farmland and basically creating a natural environment, not an artificial farming environment like the one crop based cultivation, which is like you cut down all the trees and you just put paddy or wheat and then put fertilizer, put pesticides, and it's completely an artificial environment. From there, if you move to this, we will not require fertilizers, we will not require pesticides, and the farmers are going to do very well. And it is going to regenerate the soil, and that is definitely going to reduce the greenhouse gas, reduce the amount of greenhouse gases on the atmosphere, leading to reduce, completely reversing the global warming. And but this is a paradigm shift that we're talking about. So it's not easy. And that requires a complete world polity to understand and, keeping their differences aside, join this movement. And that requires also the governments to support the farmers to go through this paradigm shift smoothly without putting themselves into trouble. So I am really looking forward to the regeneration activities taken very seriously in upcoming years. Next theme which I was talking about was about what is being modern. Today's world, especially the young generation, looks at modernization as westernization. In mathematics, if you have learned mathematics, there's something called equivalence relationship. So this is like an equivalence relation: modernization, equivalence, westernization. But is that really true? There are definitely certain elements of Western world which definitely is something which we should imbibe, which could be in terms of discipline and certain aspects. But there are several fantastic concepts, values, wisdom which is there in our system of life and our knowledge systems, which is based out of Bharatvarsha. And somehow today's, if you look at the youngsters, what they get from social media or from the TV or from internet, it's very difficult for them to imbibe this indigenous concepts which is based out of Bharatvarsha, because all of them will be completely consumer based selling which is going on everywhere, and that's completely Western thought, which I think has influenced the whole world, I would say. So how can we have aspects of detachment which can be learned from materialism, which can be learned by youngsters? And the other thing which I think the world has to think about is, how can we have an alternate economic model which is alternate to the consumption driven economy, where there is opportunity for all strata of society to get their space, and also the nature gets its space. It's a very difficult problem statement. So when I'm telling that, I'm not saying that it's an easy problem statement to solve, but I would really wish in upcoming years there's a lot of research and thought which goes into it, because consumer driven economy is not really helping us a lot. And this is something which the next generation has to realize. Right now, they are not realizing. I feel that the consumption driven economy is only getting more and more emphasis as the years go by, and there is so much consumption that we can do, and Earth is finite. Resources are not infinite. How can we make our next generation realize that? And how can there be steps taken towards understanding what are the alternatives, where ultimately there is a paradigm shift leading to what John Lennon conveyed in his song Imagine. The fifth theme which I spoke about was on media. Today, if you look at the social media or mainstream media, both of them are driven with agenda. It's a known fact. If somebody wants to debate and say no, they're free and there's free press and all that, I would only say that that's only a cover up. It is very well known that neither if you look at social media or if you look at mainstream media, everything is run with an agenda. What I would only advise is, or request people, is not to go by what you see in that mainstream media or in the social media and start up squabbles where you take a particular perspective and being part of one, because if you look at many of the talk shows, it's basically one versus the other, and it's literal squabble which is going on, and that never brings a constructive society. You can have difference of opinion. There were historical events like Adi Shankara, where he went around and had very structured debates with many scholars and defeated them and passed down the knowledge of Advaita to them. But they were all conducted in a very sane and very in a fashion where there was mutual respect. And that is what we need to understand. And I think that's completely missed out in social media or mainstream media. And I would only request that people start realizing that. And once they start realizing and stop seeing the mainstream media or social media and start spending time on other worthwhile things, then automatically the mainstream media will be forced to will be made to realize that they can no more remote control the common man for the TRP, right? And they will have to ponder about how to change themselves so that they start doing justice to the noble profession of journalism. And the sixth thing which I talk about, which I feel is one of the most important things, is about education system. Education system needs to go through a fundamental change, not just in our country. I'm telling you, it's across the world. Because today, education system is only looked upon as something which can prepare yourself for a corporate job. Whereas life is not just about working in a corporate. Life is about a whole, or about you being a well-rounded personality. So, how can the education system change where each student is given a space to figure out what his strengths and weaknesses are? Where the education system helps them to realize that. Teaches them the concept of oneness, the Vasudhaiva Kudumbakam concept, and how to really live in a sustainable way. Making them understand that we have gone wrong last 4 to 5 decades. A lot of things that we have done is wrong. Let us accept that and make the young generation realize that through our education system, and try to kind of post questions to them on how to live sustainably. And that's a very important thing. Maybe the consumer driven economy is not very interested in that. But for us, our world and our planet to survive, and even for our coming generations to survive, that is one problem statement which needs to get a solution. And how the student can understand the strengths and develop on those strengths, and how each student can develop holistically as a complete individual with good values, double intertwined, good communication skills, good listening skills, good understanding of national identity. All these things are extremely important aspects which needs to be covered in education system. And that will help them to become well-rounded personality with required skill sets and the most important thing, wisdom. Thank you very much for listening to me. I would like to wish all of you a wonderful year 2021. Let there be lot more opportunities come your way, and let all your families have a lot of happiness and prosperity. Namaste.